Hi, so this is the finished card. As you can see, it's not quite dry yet, so I'm being careful. What I did was actually got the Scan and Cut to draw it with a Sharpie ultra fine point permanent marker. So it's the really fine one, and I find that this one fits in my universal pen holders fine without having to pack it or anything like that, and it does a really good job of drawing. So all I did, once I did finish drawing all the final and I got it to cut out the panel, is I then went in with some watercolours, and I actually used the new Dreamy watercolour pencils that I got from Create and Craft the other week. And they're quite easy to use. I'm actually quite liking them, and I think the little box is really natty that came with them. So I'm still getting used to using them. So I just added some yellow as a base colour, then added some orange into the centre of the flowers, and then I did 2 colours of green, and then just for in the background I took the orange and the yellow from the card and I just added a sort of a very lightly watered down red colour, and I did this striping effect with a fairly dryish thick brush, just running it along like that. And then I did the same thing with the orange into the middle so that it blended into the red, and then the same with the yellow at the bottom that blended into the orange to get that nice background effect. Well, I thought it was quite nice. And then I added some of the Nouveau Crystal glitter drops, so they add dimension and sparkle to the project. So they're going to have the sparkles at the centre of the daisies when they're fully dry, and I've done just a cut 2 or 3 spots here and there just to give that little bit of extra dimension. All I did was mat it on a piece of Stamps by Me black card, and then I've got it on just an ordinary A5 note card. So that's today's card, and that's the video of the file that I've shown you how to make it. So I hope you enjoy making this, and obviously utilising your Scan and Cut to draw out images for you. And if you look how it's actually done the drawing, it does actually look like a stamped image, and because I've done it in, it does not too much in your face because I've used brown rather than black, although you could quite easily have used black or any other colour for that matter. And with it being a Sharpie, it's fine for watercolouring. Now, if I would have been doing this with alcohol markers, I would have probably done my background first with watercolours, and if I wanted to do some colouring in with pro markers or Copics or Spectrum Noirs, then I would have actually used a little tiny black pen or the brown pen that came actually with the machine when I bought mine. Just the one that's the brother one, because they're okay to use with alcohol markers. So the little ones are okay for alcohol, and the Sharpies are okay for when you want to watercolour. So that's how I decide what I'm going to actually use to draw the image. So I hope you've enjoyed looking at the card, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Remember to hit the thumbs up button. It really is helping to get people to find my channel the more. And if you've got any comments on what you'd like to see, please leave them below in the comments box at the bottom of the video. It's just underneath. Click the arrow. If you follow it down, you'll find the way you can write comments if you wish. All right, so thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye now. Hello my crafty friends, it's Beverleigh here over at Crafting Chaos, and I'm here with another how-to video with you, and this time it's my final instalment of my Valentines series, and what I've effectively made is a digital stamp and a greeting for the front of a 5x7 card. So let's get started on how we did this. Now the first thing you're going to need to do is head on over to dafont.com, so you need to head over to Dafont. And you're going to need a font called August. So type in August, that will bring up that font, search, and there it is. So you could download it. That's the one I use for the greeting. And then I need one called Menina something, I can't remember. We'll see if it finds it on Menina. We don't want medium, we do want Menina, so let's search. and that's the one we want. It's this Menina Graciosa Ornaments 2. So download that one. It's free for personal use. I'm sure the author would welcome a donation from you if you can stretch to that. If not, then just be aware that maybe at some point in the future, when you can, if you use other things from this author, you might actually be able to afford to donate something later. So those are the 2 fonts you need, and then you need to download them and install them to your computer. Now, I know how to do it on a Mac, but I'm not sure how to do it on Windows because I haven't got that operating system. But I assume it's just download it and you sort of open the file and you'll select to install the TrueType font, and it will install it into your fonts folder. Just as a word of warning, if you are going to be using a new font in your Canvas workspace, you need to relaunch it so that it actually shows up in the font drop down menu. So when you click on text and you go on to here, it will actually show you that font. So that's where we're up to. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring on a basic shape, and I need a square. So I'm going to drag that on, then I'm going to close this down because I'm going to make this into my rectangle that's going to fit onto my 5x7 card. So I'm going to make it 4.5 inches in width and 6.5 inches in height. Oops, didn't quite get that one. I didn't say okay. So do that, just repeat that step and say enter. So now I know that that is a 4.5 by 6.5 inch card, which will give me a 1/4 inch border all the way around on a 5x7 note card. So once I've got that in position, I'm just going to show you what I've got this set to. I've put on snap to grid on my artboard, which is the 4th one down here, and I've made the increments. So I'm going to set them to 0.25, and I'm going to make sure that my square is set on one of those. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go on that Menina Graciosa. I'm sorry if I'm actually butchering that. And I've already got it selected because that's the last one I used. And the actual flower that I used, I believe, is a capital letter R. Now, in my font book on the Mac, I can actually preview all the different flowers that there are, and I can just highlight ones and look what letter it is so that I know what to type, because obviously they're not easily recognisable as a letter, so you have to sort of have an idea what you're looking for. So now I've made that, hopefully you can see I've changed the size of that a little bit. So I'm just going to undo that rotation. So all I did to make it bigger was just clicked on one of these side handles, dragged it out a little bit, and I think that's about right. And then you can either free rotate or you can rotate by angle, say 45 degrees, which makes it a nice fit in the corner kind of a shape, if you will. Now if I align these, excuse me for the dog, wait while she stops barking. Bella, shh, good girl, shh, shh. Bella, come here, good girl, Bella, Bella. Alright Bella, I'll let you down and then you can go and see if it's Daddy coming home. One minute, I'm coming. Okay, sorry about that. I'll try to edit it out of the video. So I'm going to line up both shapes at the top. And I've actually not got both shapes. What I want to do is, yes I have, it's just that I've got it at an angle. So what I'm going to do now, because that's level at the top, I'm going to bring it across. And as I bring it across, it's moving it by the grid each time. So I'm going to move it into position, and you could speed it up a little bit, because I could do it this way and then line it up to the top and to the left. But now if I move that down 2 and to the right 2, it just moves it away from the edge like so. And I'm just going to click on it again, make it a drawing file, and I'm also going to fill it with colour. You don't have to do that, but it just looks better on the screen from my point of view. Next thing I'm going to do is make a duplicate, which I've made a shortcut for on my Mac, but you may well have to go right click and duplicate. So once I've done that, I'm first of all going to select these two, and I'm going to group them. So I'm going to right click and group, and I'm just going to close that colour down for now. So now I've got these two grouped. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip this one vertically and horizontally, so that that will fit perfectly now in the bottom corner. And again, I'm just going to use my tool to get it lined up. Oh, gone too far again. So just need to check that we're still on snap to grid, and I could line this up to the bottom and to the right, and then I can click on that shape and move it 2 out and 2 up, and that should put it in the mirror image position from top to bottom, if you see. And again, what I'm going to do now is select everything, and I'm going to right click and group them. But just before I do that, I need to just undo that, just to check that that is indeed a drawing line, and it is. So I'm just going to, I'll check again at the end anyway, but I'm going to group them now. So I'm going to right click and group. So the next thing we're going to work on is the greeting. So I'm going to move that off to the side and bring on the text. And this time we need to find a font called August that you've hopefully now downloaded into your computer. And I am going to now type the words I love, whoops, you. And I did capital letters for the starts of each word, just because I thought it looked nicer in the font. I'm going to enter, and that automatically puts it into the script. What I'm going to do next is I'm just going to enlarge it a little bit. I can always adjust the size of the letters later if I need to. And then I'm going to, while it's selected, click on Process Overlap and break it apart. Then I'm going to select the word love, and I'm going to weld. Now if this comes up, it means that you've got something that's preventing you from welding. So I'm just going to zoom in and see if I can locate what the problem is. I'll just see if they use welding or whether it's both of them. So we've got something that stopped preventing the weld. So what we can do is look at it. So I'm going to zoom right in to look at my words, and I'm going to figure out what's going wrong, hopefully. So like I say, I'm just zooming right in, and then I should be able now with my selection tool, and I can see there's something weird going on underneath there. So if I move this out of the way, I can then bring it back up so that it's aligning with the O, but not. And if you need to do it with your arrow keys, that's always an option. And I'm just going to position it so that it's not overlapping it too much. And I'm just struggling with my mouse, is very sensitive on this keypad for some reason. I might have to just do it with, I need to just turn off that snap to grid as well, because it's moving everything just by that, rather than, I think that's what the issue is, rather than me. It's not the computer, it's my error. I forgot I had the snap to grid still on. So I'm just going to position that, and I'm going to try to weld those two again now. So I'm going to go on Process the Overlap and Weld. And again, we're still getting this error message. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select everything, and I try to weld it that way. So what this means is somewhere in this file there's something that's not overlapping properly. And there's something there that obviously could be causing the issue. So I'm just going to move that out of the way. And again, I'm going to, where's that bit gone? This bit here. I'm going to double click on there, and there's definitely something amiss there that wasn't on my last, that didn't come up on my last file. So I'm just going to try typing the thing again, so I can't remember if I did the resizing before or after the weld, so I'll try doing it before I enlarge the file, and it could be that it's that what's the issue. I've done just one letter now, just bear with. I love you, and I've done small letters and I want caps. So I love you, and say OK, and then I'm going to try again and see if I can see what's wrong with this letter. So I'm going to break it apart, and I'm going to just see if that piece is still looking odd, and that looks a little bit better this time. So I'm just going to undo that move and try again with the welding, and we're still getting the error, and I'm not 100% why, because it welded perfectly well the first time I did it. So what I'm going to do is just select it. I'm going to put it back into position where it was, and I'm going to fill it with colour black, like so. And as I'm not cutting it, it doesn't really matter that I've not welded it, it's not going to matter. So I'm actually going to leave it as is. So I'm just going to break it apart, and then I'm just going to group them together rather than welding them, and that might have been what I actually did on my last file, but it's a while since I made it. So I'm just going to group everything, and then see if we're okay then. Still not letting me weld, so I must have just done that operation. I'm going to zoom all objects to matte, and then I can position them. So if I zoom in a little bit, because this is where you need to be zoomed in a bit, but so you can see what you're actually doing. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to move the eye when I can click and I can catch it. So I'm going to move the eye, and I'm going to move it into position on my page till I'm happy with it. Okay, so I'm just going to move the, I've got the eye into position, the eye into the position that I think is going to be okay now. Then I'm going to take the love, and again, if I'm going to just zoom in a bit, so that if you're struggling to pick things up, it's because it's only a very thin line font, and you need to be able to grab hold of the actual thick lines, if you will, so that it'll move properly. So I did it something like slightly offset like that, and then I did the U, and we can move it again if we need to. Let's go back and get our U. So we're going to drag this across, and it only seems to do this when I'm on the downloadable version, so I don't know if it's a glitch in the software, but when I do it online it seems to be fat. Oh dear, I've moved the wrong one now, so I'm just going to undo that. Then I'm going to click back on it. I could just do to be zoomed out just a little bit, because I'm struggling to see where I'm putting it. So I'm going to get the crosshairs, drag it in, and hopefully get it into position where I want it to be. So I'm going to have it there, like so. And then I'm going to display, zoom all my objects to the matte. So now I can see what my file is looking like. So all I need to do now is select everything, and I'm going to except for that, I don't want this. Somewhere along the line I've managed to select that as well. So I'm just going to select everything on this side, and I'm going to group everything, and I'm going to ungroup. And I think we've still got this to ungroup, and we've still got this one to ungroup because we grouped them separately. So now everything is ungrouped. And if we drag everything around, we can see they all have their own bounding boxes. So that's the file. So if you wanted to check that everything that you want to draw is drawn, everything that you want to cut is cut, I'm just going to give that some colour and send it to the back so we can see where we are. Just the back. Okay. And this one, so I'm going to zoom in, see if I can catch the I love, to see, make sure that that is also a drawing file. And it might be that that one's on top, so I'm going to send it to the back just to be sure. And we'll try again with the love. And it's got it this time, and it is a cut, so it's a good job we did do that. And again with the U, we'll try getting the U now. And again we need to make that a drawing file. And finally the I, and again make that a drawing file. So the two pictures should be drawing files, and the I love you will be a drawing file. Okay, so that's it, really. That's the basics of the card. So all you would then do, in what I did in this case, is I actually saved it. I'm just going to delete that one. I saved it to my, in fact I'm going to undo that one because just in case, that's the one that I've made. So I'm going to delete the one that we've just made so that I've got, I've just realised what I've done. They're all ungrouped and now I've deleted some of them stupidly. So I'm going to delete that one because I've already got the file saved. And if I drag the one that I'd already made onto the workspace, this is what we've made. And all I did then was transfer to the FCM file via the internet, and it sent it straight over to my Scan and Cut. I have actually made the card, so at the end of this I'll show you the finished card. So I hope you've liked it. If you have, please like, share and subscribe. Tell your friends where to find me, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks.